Namaste, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is the third meeting of our Gitananda Nada Yoga Satsangha, and it's a great pleasure to see you. We have a very special guest today, and we do have people who are still joining in. So, and I also see our sir. Namaskaram, Guruji. Namaste. Thank you for being here, sir. Thank you so much. And so as we're waiting for some of the people to still join, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our esteemed presenter, our esteemed guest. It was more than a guest, really. Nilachal is more than a guest. It's actually an active, very active participant in our Sangha in many, many, many levels, on many, many levels. So in this online gathering today, which is open to everybody, will be shared on YouTube later. And as a matter of fact, I just remember that I want to also share it on Facebook. So just give me 1 second, please. I want to live stream it as well, because it's useful, very, very useful gathering information for us. So just 1 second, please. Yes, maybe I will do this later as the computer is not really collaborating. So in this gathering today, Nilachal will share his research on the importance of Sanskrit in the study and practice of yoga. And he will be sharing an overview of Vedānga, and in particular of Panini, Shiksha Vedānga. And focus on the Sangha will be on the Nada Yoga teachings of the Maheshwar Sutras. So we're very excited. Nilachal Padmashanti is a research scholar at the School of Yoga Therapy, CYTER, once CYTER, of the Institute of Salutogenesis and Complementary Medicine of Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth. He has completed his UG and PG in Yogic Science, and he's a former assistant professor in the Department of Yoga and Naturopathy at Sarala Birla University in Ranchi. Nilachal is also a yoga teacher and entrepreneur, and the founder and yoga therapist at Live Holistic Wellness. So welcome, Nilachal ji. Namaste. The floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for this opportunity. And without taking much time, I'd like to share the screen, and with the Guru invocation, we'll start this Satsangha. So we will invoke the Gayatri Mantra followed by Ganesh Gayatri and the Guru Gayatri. Om Bhurabhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodaya. Om Tat Ganeshaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayate. Om Tat Paramparyaya Vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya Dhimahi Tanno Guru Prachodayate. Om Yoga Maharshi Dr. Swami Gitananda Giri Guru Maharaj ki Jai. Om Pudvai Kalma Mani Pudvai Shakti Yogacharani Amma Ji Meenakshi Devi Bhavanani Guru Mata ki Jai. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om. We will also invoke the Patanjali mantra. So this is all about Maharishi Panini. So Maharishi Patanjali ji is considered to be, he gave the Yoga Sutras in the form of Maharishi Patanjali, Charak Samhita in the form of Charak, and Panini Sutras or the Shiksha Sutras, Panini Granth Ashtadhyay in the form of Panini. So we will invoke Maharshi Panini in the form of Patanjali. Om Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacha Malam Sharirasya Cha Vaidakena Yopakarotam Pravaram Muninam Patanjalim Pranjaliranatoshmi. Thank you. So I welcome you all and in this Satsangha. So Namaste, Pranam, and if we say in Sanskrit that Namo Namaha to everyone. And today's topic, as Sangeeta ji mentioned, that we will be discussing about the Vedas, Vedāngas, Panini Shiksha, Maheshwar Sutras. So in the context within Adi Yoga. So the topic that you all can see is the melodic mysteries, Sanskrit musical essence, unraveled in Vedāngas and Vedas. So if we go into the starting of before starting it, and my teacher, Sanskrit teacher used to mention, like he always used to say, Sanskrit patha adhuniko bhava. Learn Sanskrit and be modern. So we always try to think like how we will learn Sanskrit and be modern, because in our country, like it is Sanskrit, English speaking is considered to be the modern. So he used to say, he used to start the class with a Sanskrit sentence that I would like to start here also. Like he used to say, Sampratam bhavanta vicharayati vicharishyanti va yat Sanskrit patin krishta na janaha kim adhuniko bhava arhati va, which means now you think that if I learn Sanskrit, then how I will become or how I will be modern. So here we are going to explore similar things, like we are going to understand the Maheshwar Sutras, Shiksha, Vedāngas, and Adi Yoga. So how Sanskrit can help us to know all these things in the modern context. So let us explore and let us know how these things are there. So before starting, in the end, there is the question answer session. But before that only, I would like to ask you all a question. And just to let you know that this is the last slide of my presentation, but I put in the first slide so that there will be a curiosity and the answer, what will be the answer. So the question is, what is the one entity that universally everybody wants or seeks if you give that entity to that anyone, irrespective of caste, creed, color, language, country, the person won't deny this entity. So you can write on the chat and we can see in the later also. So this is the question and the answer will get at the end. Now coming to the next. So introduction to the Sanskrit. So why we need to know the Sanskrit? So what is the importance of the Sanskrit? So here in this context, I would like to quote the Sanskrit language in the form where it is mentioned by many Westerners also that it is one of the wonderful language, and it is considered to be better, or it is similar in its quality and the wonderful structure in terms of Greek and Latin. And I would like to also mention this Sanskrit is one of the languages that were being used in ancient times. So it was being studied by many scholars. So the question comes, it was an ancient language, so why we need to know Sanskrit? And for this, I get a very beautiful quote from Dr. Sampadananda Mishra, whom I really admire. And he says, like Sanskrit is not just a scientific language, it's a language of science. So there's a very deep meaning to that. And to understand that, we have a few points that really can help us to understand why we need to, why Sanskrit is relevant in today and tomorrow. So first of all, like it is a language, it is the most sweetest and the most divine language, and it is praised by most rishis, sages. The beauty is that there is no abusive language you can find in Sanskrit. So the language in itself is very divine, the sweetest. The language in itself is a clarity. The language, this is the language of clarity, which means the language has a lot of things in it which actually helps to understand in a very clarity manner. It has a well-defined structure. It gives a systematic and logical arrangements, which actually helps to allow the clarity in the communication. So the sounds, the words, all has the clarity. The second is the endless number of words. Sanskrit has a vast potential for getting new words. The Shabdrup, Dhaturup, they're all the grammars that you see. From one Shabdrup, you can make a numerous number of words. So endless number of words can be made. The next is the living or the breathing language. When we pronounce the alphabets, when we pronounce the words, swar, consonants, vowels, all those letters, we actually form a pattern of articulation in the mouth and leading to some systematic and logical flow of the breath. And we will going to experience this in the upcoming slides. And there is one very beautiful beauty of Sanskrit is the extraordinary flexibility. And to demonstrate this, here is one sentence in Sanskrit. So I will read the first from left to right. Tam bhusuta mukti mudar hasam vande yato bhavya bhavam dayashrihi. So this is a one sentence which gives a meaningful, which is a meaningful sentence. If I make a palindrome, just reverse from the right to left, it becomes the bottom one. Shri Yadavam Bhavya Bhato Yadevam Sangharada Mukti Muta Subhutam. So the beauty is the bottom one also gives a very meaningful sentence. And the beauty becomes more when you just get the meaning of it. In the top one, if you read from the left to right, it actually tells the story of Sri Ram. And when you read the bottom one, it actually tells the story of Sri Krishna. So this is the beauty of Sanskrit, the flexibility in a way. So this is Sanskrit, and it is relevant in modern context. So how we will see. So we have numerous and infinite Indian scriptures which are written in Sanskrit. All the Shruti, Smriti, Puran, Itihas, Mahabharat, Ramayana, Yoga Sutra, Hat Pradipika, Ghiran Samhita, a lot of literature we have that are in the language Sanskrit. So if we know the language Sanskrit, we can able to read them. We can able to understand them. So the study of language actually help us to get the actual meaning of what is written instead of getting the translations of those literature. The important thing is the Indian scriptures is not only the source of only spiritual literature or the literature which related to religion or some other spiritual informations, but also it has a house. It is a house of science and technology, and we'll see that there were numerous subjects in Sanskrit which actually were written and that can be helpful in modern context. If you don't agree with me, let's see in the upcoming slides. So we all know this person, Newton, and the laws of motions were mentioned in the Vaisheshik Darshan, and it is in a very detailed form. Similarly, the Wright brothers invented aeroplane, but we have the Vimana Shastra, and they have mentioned a lot of aerodynamical structures which were mentioned there. Similarly, the distillation process, which we see in modern way, it was long used in the ancient India. It is the chemistry that we see. In mathematics, numerous works were done. The Aryabhatta has done numerous works, and it was in the Sanskrit only. The Pythagoras theorem, the very popular Pythagoras theorem, was being proved or defined by the Bodhan Rishi long back ago. Similarly, in the field of health, Ayurveda has a numerous branches: Kaya Chikitsa, Shala Chikitsa, Shalakya, Kaumarabhit, Rashayan, Vajikaran, and a lot more. Similarly, if you see the humors, the body humors were being mentioned, but it is also mentioned in the Ayurveda, Vat, Pitta, we all know. So it is in the Ayurveda text. Similar, the physiology of the body, various functioning of the body, all are mentioned in the ancient language Sanskrit in the Indian scriptures. Similarly, the plastic surgery, the Maharshi Shushruta, he is considered to be the modern, he's the father of modern surgery. So similarly, there are a lot of things that were being used, and the instruments that were being used in his times were actually the reference in modern context. So it is relevant today because it was used in ancient times. So somehow, if we know the Sanskrit, you are able to relate with the modern, you can use them in modern context also. So it is important to know Sanskrit. And this we all know that yoga has been the language of yoga is Sanskrit. So if you know yoga, if you want to know yoga better, you have to understand Sanskrit. And for this, there are many traditions, they are doing their work in their own way. And our Gitananda tradition is also doing its work in a very innovative way. They're trying to preserve the ancient culture and in the language Sanskrit. And we see, as our doctors, he always mentions and he tells about the importance of the practices in the yoga in the yogasana and other things. The one example that the doctors always try to give is the asana that we try to practice. That the Meru asana or the Parvatasana, which is being used in modern context as the English term that we use is the downward facing dog. But we are actually not getting the actual meaning of that particular asana. So it is very important to know the importance of the language. If we know the importance of language, then will not use the terms that is not actually meaningful. We know the definition of asana, that is Thiram Sukham asana, but we actually forgot the next two sutras of the Maharshi Patanjali, where he mentions Paryatra Shatilyanam Anant Samapatyabhyam and the Tata Dvandva Anabhigata. We actually forget the objective of the asana, where the goal is to merge with the infinite, with the divinity, and to submerge, and Tata Dvandva Anabhigata. So there is the dvand is removed. So the objective has to be preserved, and this can only be preserved when we know Sanskrit, when we use the actual term. If we don't know the term, then we can't we can't understand the actual meaning of that. And this is what the Gitananda Parampara tries to do in various forms. In the cultural authenticity, by giving the deeper understanding of the concepts, avoiding misinterpretation, preserving the tradition, encouraging the authentic practices, enriching the spiritual practice, and bridging the ancient and modern the techniques, the ancient knowledge with the modern parameters. Like we are trying to research with all the ancient practices. And this actually leads to some, we need to understand what are the research-based studies that are being done in Sanskrit. If you see, there are a few examples that I would like to present here is like there were being research done where it was found the chanting of the Vishnu Sahasranama, and it was found that by chanting the Vishnu Sahasranama, there was significant decrease in the depression, anxiety, stress, and cortisol level, and there are many benefits found. Similarly, there was a study, but two groups were taken. One group who used to chant and memorize the Sanskrit verses, Sanskrit mantras, shloks from the childhood in their schools, and the another group who doesn't involve in any of the chanting. They never were contact in the chanting of the Sanskrit mantras, shlokas, or anything like that. The difference between both of them were observed, and there was increased in the gray matter density and also the increased cortical thickness in language, memory, and visual systems. So this shows that the chanting of the Sanskrit mantras, shlokas, actually help us to improve our cognitive abilities. Similarly, the pronunciation or the chanting of Om actually boosts energy levels and aligns us with the universe. So there were being papers found. And one study that we are also trying to do in our institute, where we are trying to find the effect of Gayatri mantra chanting. And we are observing that there are some parasympathetic response after the chanting and just after the chanting and after giving some rest, we are getting some specific time that also we are giving a parasympathetic response. So there is a positive response in the effect of chanting of Gayatri mantra. in the HRV, heart rate variability, different parameters. So these, all these effects that we see, the root of all these are actually based with all the Vedas and the Vedāngas. So the root of all, whatever we are chanting, whatever we actually know about Sanskrit, the root is the Vedas. And we have the basic idea of the Vedas that they are four: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, Atharveda. So let us understand Vedas in a very brief manner. So Vedas, it means it is derived from the root word Ved, and which means the sacred knowledge or the wisdom. And as I mentioned, there are four Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, and Atharveda. So how these hierarchy actually is formulated, we will see here. So Vedas, if you see, there are four Vedas, and to understand these Vedas, there was a system being developed, which by which we can understand all the four Vedas and sub-Veda, Upavedas, in a very in a manner that we can understand it in a very detailed way. So there were Vedāngas. To understand the Vedas, there was a system developed which were called Vedāngas. And there are six Vedāngas. They are called Shiksha, Kalp, Vyakaran, Nirukta, Chand, and Jyotish. Shiksha is the phonetics or the pronunciation, Kalp is the ritual, Vyakaran is the grammar, Nirukta is the etymology, Chandas is the meter, and Jyotish is the astronomy. So we are not going to go into much detail in this Satsangha, where we are just going to dive into very basic understanding of what the Shiksha, the pronunciation or the phonetics of this Sanskrit and the Panini Shiksha. And there is an interesting fact also here. So there you can see the 8 Shiksha Vedāngas are mentioned here. But in reality, in the context, when I try to find how many Shiksha Vedāngas were there were altogether like almost 50 Shiksha Vedāngas were there. 50 rishis or sages has written their own form of Shiksha Vedāngas. And out of those 50, these 8 were considered like these 8 were considered to be the important ones. And out of these 8, we are going to just take a glimpse or take just to understand a few of the points of Panini Shiksha. And this Shiksha Vedānga basically gives an idea of the Sanskrit alphabets, which are called the Varna, the rules of the pronunciation of the word, the phonology, and the phonetics. And there is an interesting thing also about these the pronunciation of the Varnas and other alphabets is that in the Naradiya Shiksha, there is one more Shiksha Vedānga, where it is mentioned that there are 6 parameters, 6 factors actually, which actually defines the Shiksha Vedānga. I'm not going to the detail, but just to give an idea of what Shiksha Vedānga actually means. So it has 6 factors. It has the word that I mentioned, syllable, the swara, the accent or the note, matra, the duration, the balam, how much articulation or stress we are giving, the sama, how the tone is even, and the continuity, sanatana. So these are all together actually gives the idea of the Shiksha Vedānga. So I just want to just give understanding with a very basic. There is a Dhyana Shloka. So in this Dhyana Shloka, which is found in the Vedas only, and how the Shiksha Veda, this Dhyana Shloka, I will try to chant and how this syllable, accent, duration, articulation, continuity, and even tone can be found. Just try to observe in that. So it goes like this. वीणाक्वन चिरवन जातकुतूहलेना देवेन कामरिपुण परिरम्यमाना पासाङ्गुसाङ्गितग रामरुणवभाषम् साजीं समस्तजननी मनीषं नमामि namami, namami. So although like it is it was not very smooth, but you can understood that how the varna, syllable, accent, duration, articulation, and the toning and continuity were being followed. So this is what Shiksha Vedanga actually deals with. And in this also, as I mentioned, we are going to understand, or we are going to see only the Panini Shiksha. And this also, we are going to see the basics of the Panini Shiksha. And in every Shiksha Vedanga, we will see the Maheshwar Sutras. The importance of Maheshwar Sutras we can just understand with the fact. You remember that one chart, one table I saw? This table. So this table actually, there is a line where Vedas is starting from the Vedas, the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Sam Veda, Athar Veda are originating. But above the Vedas, where and there is one more component because of which Vedas came into existence in the form of in the written form. So just to give you another understanding of Vedas, Vedas were never been the textbooks or someone wrote them. It was actually the vibrations which were experienced by the rishis, and they, in a way to make understand, to document it, they needed something, and the Maheshwar Sutras came into that existence and helped to document in the form of Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, Atharveda. So Shruti was the way where they were to they used to pass on from the guru to shishya like that. So that guru shishya parampara used to follow these things. So now coming to the this story that is behind the Maheshwar Sutras. So there is an interesting story in the Maheshwar Sutras. So once upon a time, Maharshi Panini was praying, and he invoked Lord Shiva. And after continuous prayer, Lord Shiva was happy with him, and he came in front of him, and he gave the cosmic dance. And after the cosmic dance, he played the damru, the handheld drum, 14 times. And after playing that 14 times, there were 14 sounds that took from there. And Maharshi Panini, he noted this series of 14 sounds. And these 14 sounds were actually called the Maheshwar Sutras. And from these Maheshwar Sutras, all the alphabets, according to the Panini arrangements of grammar, came into existence. So the sutra is like this. The Panini shlok here. This Maheshwar Sutra is Nrityavasane Nataraj Rajo Nanadadakkam Nau Panchavaram Urdhvattu Kamaha Sankadi Siddhan Etadvirmarshe Shiva Sutra Jalam. So in this shlok, Nritya Vasane, that is Natraj Raja. The dancing Shiva is called the Natraj here. So at the end of the cosmic dance, Natraj Raja Dakkam Nanada, meaning Natraj played the Dakkam. Dakkam is the handheld drum. For now Panchvara, 9 plus 5. Now is 9, Panch is 5. 9 plus 5 is the 14 times he played the Dakka. Dakka is the handheld drum, Damru. And when it is mentioned in the next.
Apologies, Nilachal, the slide is blurry. So if you could just move it up and down so we can actually follow you. I'm so sorry to interrupt. Thank you. That's perfect. Thank you so much.
Is it visible?
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. Sorry for the.
Okay. Maybe the network issues. Okay. Is it visible now? Yeah, okay. Thank you. So these 14 sounds came into existence, and these 14 sounds actually are arranged in this way, and these actually forms all the alphabets in the Sanskrit language, in the Panini grammar. So these are the A, I, Una, Ri, Rika. These 14 are there. A, Aunga, A, Aucha, Ha, Ya, Va, Ra, Ta, learn. Yamara nama, jhabhaya, ghada dasha, jaba gada dasha, khafa chata tha chata tava, kapaya shasa sara hala. Although like I'm pronouncing it a little faster, but it is like with each alphabet we can it is pronounced slowly also. So here is one activity that I wanted, although I don't think like it can be done. Like let's see if it is possible. I will just try to say one Maheshwar Sutra, one letter each, and you can also practice at the same time with me. And let's see how it happens. Like it can be faster, but try to see how it goes. A, I, U, Ra, Ri, Vi, Ka, I, O, Ga, I, Au, Cha, Ha, Ya, Va, Ra, Ta, La, Ra, Ya, Ma, Ra, Na, Na, Ma, Jha, Bha, Ya, Gha, Ra, Dha, Sha, Ja, Ba, Ga, Da, Da, Sha, Kha, Fa, Cha, Tha, Tha, Cha, Ta, Ta, Va, Ka, Pa, Ya, Sha, Sa, Sa, Ra, Ha, La. So this way, all the 14 Maheshwar Sutras are being chanted, and we chant it like faster also. Like it, it depends on how you pronounce it better. So one very important thing here: the evolution of language, Indian language, from Shiv Sutras. You remember that I mentioned the Shiv Sutras were the starting points or the Maheshwar Sutras. Then the Vedas came into existence. And like the Vedas, from there, we can understand the Vedas got the idea. The Vedas can be written in a format. So, in similar way, the evolution, you will find the Shiv Sutras in all the languages of the India, where you will find that in Tamil also, Telugu and all the other languages that you can see have the base as the Maheshwar Sutras. Like in everyone, A, A, E, E, U, U. Like that it will goes. So these three patterns you can see in every languages, which is actually the base, and the base is the Maheshwar Sutras. So in a way, in India, although there are different cultures, the languages differ, but the base you will see is the Maheshwar Sutras. So although diversity, but unity in diversity, that is what it can be seen. So the base is the Maheshwar Sutras. Now let us come to the basic understanding of the alphabets in the Sanskrit. So alphabets that we see, the 14 sutras were there. In the 14 sutras, you will find the the letters, the varnas. It is called the varnas. There are 57 varnas, and out of all the 57 varnas, the last one, all the last varnas are actually removed. They are not counted, and where there is a dash in the na, ka, ra, cha, ta, all these are not counted. And there's a reason for that. I will not go into that. But these are not counted. By excluding those, the total number of varnas that we see are 44. So total altogether, the alphabets are 42, and out of 42, there are 9 vowels or the swaras and 33 vyanjan or consonants. So 9 swaras and 33 vyanjan. And in the swaras, if we just try to understand the swara, swayam rajyati iti swara, the basic definition, which is self-pronounced, which does not need any extra help from the other, it is called as swaras. And they are divided in 2 parts, mul swara and the sanyukta swara. The first 5 varnas or the alphabets or the letters in the Maheshwar Sutras are called the mul swara. The next 4 are the sanyukta swara. They actually needed help of the mul swara to be pronounced. That's why it is called sanyukta swara. Similarly, when we go for the swara in context of the pronunciation time, we have 3 categories of the swaras or the vowels. they are the Harasva Swar, which like time is measured in a ek matrik, like 1 unit. 1 unit is called the Harasva Swar, which takes a 2 unit time. It is considered to be Dirgha Swar, and which takes the 3 unit time. It calls the Pluth. It is not the seconds in terms like that. It is called matrik, like it has different calculations. So it is called Harasva, Dirgha, and Pluth Swar. And we can do pronounce some of the Harasva, Dirgha, and Pluth. We can do the first one, like the which takes a little time. You can do with me also. Then the Dirgha one, a, and the Pluth, 3 unit time it takes. Like that. And the beautiful example we can get from this one, Dirgha and the Pluth one, the O. This Om is there, so O, O. So Dirgha we will try to pronounce O, O, O. And similarly, Pluth, if you see, 3 unit time, 3 matrik, it is O, O. And when we chant the pranava or the Om, this 3 matrik or the 3 unit time is being used. We used Om, Om, Om. So this way we can understand the Harasva, Dirgha, and Pluth. In the Arya Samaj, they use basically these format of chanting of the Om. Now coming to the consonants or the Vyanjan. So Vyanjans are 33 in number, and they are basically of 2 kinds, Ardha Matrik and Gunita Akshara. So what are the consonants? Those who takes the help of the swaras or the vowels to get pronounced. We can also check whether it can be pronounced or not. So the raw consonants you can say which can't be pronounced are called the Ardha Matrik. You can try also. Like if you will try to pronounce this ka, kha, ga, so it will not be pronounced. It will be like ka, kha, ga, 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 cha. So it can't be pronounced fully. That's why it is called Ardha. Ardha means half. When it gets the help of these swaras or the vowels, it becomes the Gunita Akshara. And then we can pronounce them fully. Ka, kha, ga, gha, anga, cha, cha, ja, jha, ya. Like that. So this is Ardha Matrik and Gunita Akshara. And similarly, when we give the different vowels, it becomes different. Like for the ka, if we give the ka, ka, ki, ku, kri, kri. So like that it is pronounced. And also there is a categorization in the consonants, and it is on the basis of the Vargiya, which is basically 5 categories, and Avargiya, which are basically semi-vowels and sibilants, or the Antas or the Ushma Varnas. So all the Ka, Cha, Ta, Ta, Pa are the categories. They are called the Vargiya or the categorized consonants, or the Avargiya or the uncategorized consonants, which includes the Antas, like the Ya, Ra, La, Va, and Ushma one, the Sha, Sa, Sa, Ha. Now coming to the pronunciation, like we already saw how we are pronouncing. So in the Panini Shiksha, it is mentioned that there is the Ashto Sthanani Varnanunar Kanta. Like it is 8 places are there where the pronunciation happens. One is the Kant, Siras, Jivha, Mool, Danta, Nashika, Osht, and Talu. So these are the 8 places where the pronunciation actually happens. So pronunciation actually, 1 minute. Okay. So pronunciation, if you try to see, there are different places from where we can pronounce. So Kantha, we can pronounce the alphabets like the Ka, like Ka, Kha, Ga. And for the palatal talu one, it is the cha, cha, ja, jha. Then the roof of the palate, the cerebral area is the ta, tha, dha, na, ra, sha. And the dental is the ta, tha, da, dha. And labial one, the pa, fa, ba. And the nasal one is the ma, ra, na, like all the nasal sounds. Similarly, like if you try to observe, it goes from the back to the front. Like if we go to the first one only, we can try it together. Like the ka, try to understand from where the pronunciation actually happens. Ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. Ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. It's going from the back to the front. Ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. In the second one, if you try, tha, cha, tha, tha, pa. So this way you can see that from the back to the front, it comes like that. So this way, like the pronunciation actually happens. So in this way, the pronunciation takes place. So in also the swaras also like sare gama pada ani. If you try to understand those swaras also, they have from the bottom to the up it goes. In the similar way, not exactly, but in the similar way, the pronunciation in the varnas in the Panini Shiksha, as per the Panini Shiksha, it goes from the back to the front. So this way, like from the kant, talu, murthanya, dant, osht, antast, ushn, like that it goes. So from the back to the front. So this way, like Panini Shiksha gives us a meaning of, like it gives us the idea how the pronunciation actually happens. So now coming to the next, the concluding part, and like these, whatever we till now understood is the basic limbs that we saw. Now, this is one of the important slides. And in the beginning, I just gave you one question. And that concluding question, which actually uh, uh, is very important one, which will actually help us to understand the idea of the Sanskrit alphabet, letters, words like that. So I will again ask the question, like what is the one entity that universally everybody wants? And if you give this to anyone, they won't deny this. So you can write in the chat box or it is okay. Uh, so this entity, like if you try to give, there are, irrespective of the person's identity, irrespective of the caste, color, creed, religion, country, if you give this entity, and the word that I'm just trying to find is in the Sanskrit one that you can find, that will say, and I think here Alokji has mentioned, yeah, yeah, joy, health, peace, santosham, yeah, happiness, fine. So these are actually, thank you, sir. Yeah, peace. I was actually looking for the word, and I think Alok ji has mentioned that word, and that is none other than the sukha. So there are other words also in Sanskrit that is the prasannata, the other thing, but sukha. Why sukha? I will let you all know. So, sukh is something if you everybody seeks, everybody wants the sukha. Whether it is for a yogi, he wants a sukha sthanam. He wants to be in the equilibrium state. For one who is a bhogi, for him also it will be the luxury is the sukh for him. So this sukh is being searched by everyone, but the dilemma, but the irony is that nobody gets the sukh. So what we basically get? We basically get the dukha. And sarvam dukham in Bodh philosophy, Bodh darshan it is said. So we seek for the sukh, but we actually end up in dukha. But just try to observe in this sukha and dukha, what is the common that we get here? What is the common thing between sukha and dukha? And the common thing that is, let me tell you, this is kha. Kha is the common thing between sukha and dukha. So what is kha? To understand the kha, just try to have, we pronounce many varnas or the alphabets. Before kha comes the ka, isn't it? So just try to pronounce ka by yourself. Ka, 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 ka. Uh, So did you observe anything? While pronouncing the ka, something is pulling you inside. Ka, ka. So there is a contraction while pronouncing ka. Now let us pronounce the kha. Kha, kha, kha. So you will find something is coming out. So there is expansion. So while pronouncing the ka, there is contraction. While pronouncing ka, there is expansion. So this means that we can say that su is the easy, which gives the meaning that the good kha, su means the saral, which gives the sukha, and the other is the dukha. So the kha, just focus, if you focus on the kha part, so kha is basically the expansion. And in the Tetri Upanishad, it is mentioned that the expansion in the form, the ultimate expansion, like from the Annamaya koshas, from the Annamaya to the Anandamaya. So the ultimate expansion is the Anandamaya. So if you just try to observe, let me make it more clearer in the way. Kha is the word which is used for the Khaga, which means the Akash. And Khag relates to the Akash, and expansion is the quality of a Kha. So focusing on the kha, the extreme or the ultimate expansion will be the ever existing ananda. So kha will expand to the universe, and the universe, which it means, is the ever existing anand. So kha denotes the ever existing anand, and there is a good kha and the bad kha. For the good kha, we say the sukha, good kha is the sukha, and the bad kha is the dukha. And it is mentioned in the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad that yo vai bhuma tat sukham nalpe sukham asti, which means that the infinite is the sukham, and which is not, which is finite, it is not sukham. So kha is the sound of expansion, and kha is the sound of expansion, where it gives the experience of the ever-existing ananda. And we experience this ever-existing ananda when we are in tune with the wider consciousness. So sukha is neither happiness nor the dukha is the unhappiness, but it is a state of consciousness. And we are able to understand, we are able to unite with the ever-existing ananda when you are able to understand this kha. And how we will do this? We can do this by the practices of the various practices of yoga, and which actually lead us to the ekatva. There are in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad only, and in the Rig Veda also, it is mentioned that ekatvam kaha shokah ko moha. So there is explanation for the ekatva, and these all the concepts that we understand when we are able to understand the language, the Sanskrit. So if we are able to understand the language properly, if we have the concept, if we pronounce, if we know how to pronounce the Sanskrit in a better way, if we understand what actually the word or the letter means, we're able to go into the deeper understanding of those words and those shlokas, those mantras, those other verses, sutras, and we can understand in a better way, and we can uplift our consciousness, and we can do this by various practices of the yoga. And in this context, like we can say, like Sangeeta ji gives the Nath yoga, so this Nath yoga practices actually help in the various expansion of the consciousness or the wider experience of the art. So with these words, I will just rest my presentation. Dhanyavada. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can ask.
First of all, we would like to give you a big round of applause by moving our hands up in the air like this to thank you. Thank you for sharing your studies and your brilliance and your practice and all. So yes, please, you can unmute yourselves if you like, if you have questions for Nilachal, and ask the question or write them in the chat. Thank you.
I would like to ask a question.
Yes, please.
And my question is with regards to Bij mantras. So if I'm chanting, let's say Ram, one of the Bij mantras. Do I chant, what is the proper way of chanting? Do I chant Ram, or do I chant Ram? Thank you.
Yeah. So the one fact is like Ram, the chanting of the mantras, it is completely different context. Two things I will say. For the mantra chanting, there are various things that has to be needed. First is the intent of the chanting of the mantra. That is foremost important, and the pronunciation is important, but it should be as per your capacity. There are different accents. People from different location, different places, they can pronounce some words, some they can't pronounce some words. So it is suggested to pronounce the mantra as per your best capability. And the most important thing is the intent of the mantra. There is there is a saying in Sanskrit only. Bhave hi vidyate deva, tasmat bhave hi karana. So the intent is very much important while reciting any mantras. For example, there is a yagya or the japa. The many people do the japa, mantra japa. So while doing the mantra japa, if they are chanting their japa, they are doing the japa of the mantra, and in their mind there is something else than the meaning of the mantra or the meaning what actually it actually means, then it has no significance or no importance. So first foremost, try to it is important to try to chant as much as per the capacity of your like accent, or you can chant the mantra, and the intent is the foremost important. So like that. And also one more thing, like the Ram you said. So there was one, I'm forgetting, it was Tulsi Das or who. He started chanting the opposite of the Ram, like the Mara. So he started the Mara 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 Mara. It automatically becomes the Ram. So the intent was there. So the important thing was the intent. So in that way we can start. Okay.
May I add something, Nilachal, to this question from Lee? And I don't want to take your spot at all, but Lee, namaste. In the Parampara of Swami Gitananda, we also have, if you're referring to the bija mantras of the chakras, we do have a very specific way to invoke the mantras in the mantralaya practices of Swamiji, where the sound, and Dr. Nanda, of course, teaches this in our mantra sadhana classes and the yoga classes, where the A being the vowel that is referred to manifestation corresponds to an expansion of the sound out in equal measure of the withdrawal or the laya of the M, which comes back. So actually, just like the Om, we have Aum with the matras, as Nilachal was explaining, with specific timing. We do try to do our best, of course, in your capacity and intention, that's absolutely correct, of course, but also we do tend to make sure that the A and the withdrawing are equal.
I would like to add one more thing, Sangeeta ji. Like I was just going through the scintillating Saturdays, the second scintillating Saturdays, second episode of scintillating Saturdays. So where Dr. Sir has mentioned a very basic understanding of the mantras. So she can refer to that also. Like you can share the link to her. So yeah. Any other questions?
I just wanted to congratulate you, Nilachal. Very
Thank you.
beautiful presentation. I have been wondering, last 1 week, I haven't seen him much. Now, you know, I'm his PhD supervisor, so I normally get to see him once a day at least. But for the last 1 week, Nilachal has been hiding. And the reason he's hiding is been making this presentation and getting it ready. And very beautifully brought out. And I learned a lot from your presentation today. And again, your definition of swara, that is something which I have known the concept, but the verse was very beautiful. How a swara is that which is established on its own, can stand on its own. Because again, that swa, the self, it all, you know, when you start to look at all the connections, they are amazing. So that was beautiful. And again, the sukha and the dukkha and both having the kha, I think that was very beautiful. And to know about the Maheshwara and the Shiva Sutras, because we hear about this and then, you know, we never go into it. And how these are there. And again, 9 plus 5, 14. It's not just 14, it's 9 plus 5. 9, you know the number in Yantra, and then again 5, the power in Yantra of Shiva. You know, you start to see why did they break it as 9 and 5? They could have made it 8 and 6. They could have made it 10 and 4. Why 9 and 5? Because 9 is that completion, and 5 is the manifestation of the Namah Shivaya. So, you know, it is very beautiful when we see this. So I really enjoyed it and just wanted to compliment you while we are waiting. And yes, Bharata ji has a nice question, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the form of like it is Maheshwar Sutras, if you see, it forms the basis of the all the vibrations in a way. So when the documentation part, when it is being written, that part it can be understood that the Maheshwar Sutras are the sutras from where these alphabets, all the other things came into being. And as I also mentioned, there are many other Shiksha Vedāngas. So those Shiksha Vedāngas actually help us to make various verses of the Vedas in that context. So in that way, the if you put the what I wanted to convey was to put the Maheshwar Sutra in the center, and in that context, the words, the alphabets, the letters that are being they were used, those vowels, swaras, vyanjans are being actually expanded in the form of the Vedas, Upavedas, then the darshan, like all the shastras. So in terms of the literature format, not in the form of the existence, because there were it is eternal. We can't date them that when it came into existence. So in that way, that was my intent of mentioning there. It came before the Vedas.
Thank you, Nilachal. That's very helpful.
I have a question, of course, Nilachal. Well, I'm waiting for everybody else to come up with a question of their own. It's actually a question about your experience of learning this, you know, as you grew up and you were born. Were you exposed to these teachings as a young man or a boy, or how was your experience with these sounds? And then later as a scholar, looping back perhaps and learning ways to share them with people who were not brought up in this context. Would you just like maybe to, because it's wonderful to learn more about that experience for us who are not born there.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that question. That was not expected, actually. Yeah. So actually, I had the Sanskrit. We all basically have a subject in our schools, but it was not a a very important part. But when I was doing my graduation, I did my graduation in BSc Yogic Science. So in that we have this option of the communication. So we have either English communication or Sanskrit communication. I chose the Sanskrit communication, and in that Sanskrit communication, we read all the Maheshwar Sutras, the pronunciation, the Subhashitani, all those the communication skills that for 3 years. And later on, like this continued for 3 years, and with the sutras, the grammar, how to implement with the communication part. So those were the experience that I got. And apart from that, I had the experience of the residential courses in the Sanskrit, in the Kashi. They have the Sanskrit Sambhashan Shivir, it is called. So where they will keep you for a month, and they will take all the belongings that you have, like basically, and there you have to communicate in Sanskrit, irrespective of like you don't know, then also you have to communicate in Sanskrit. So my experience was that like for even for food also you have to ask in Sanskrit. So for the first time, I was not able to know the various food items that used to be there. So it was rice. I didn't know the what to say to the rice. I didn't get the rice that day. So next day, I had to know like what the rice is called. Odanam avashakam, jalam avashakam, shakam avashakam. So like that, we used to know that like how to pronounce and how to get them. So in that was a very good learning, because although it was a 1 month, like that in a close environment, like all were in the same conditions. So we have to speak in Sanskrit. There are busy schedule. So by that environment, by that practice, actually we actually grow up in saying, because there are many friends also like from there, they actually when they call, they speak in Sanskrit only. We communicate, try to converse in Sanskrit. So the basic of one, we started with all the errors in the Sanskrit, and gradually what we learned there, we implemented those communications in that. So like that I understood. And also I will mention that it is whatever I know, it is very like it is very limited one in a context of communication, because it is a vast. So I am still learning in that way. And these all Maheshwar Sutras, like while preparing for this Satsangha also, I learned a lot. Like I didn't know the Maheshwar Sutra, the existence, how it was there with all the other languages also. So it was the basis of all the other languages. So that was the new thing I learned. So this way, like I had the understanding of Sanskrit. Like this way, I learned Sanskrit.
Thank you, Nilachal. And sir, I'm wondering how that would go at the ashram if we did that with our students. Any other question?
I think there is a question. Acha, okay. Yeah.
Actually, there
This
is no
person.
question from my side. Let me introduce. She is Neeti Dwivedi, and she is MA in Sanskrit with a gold
Oh.
medal. And she has been teacher of Sanskrit. And the way you taught us, we thoroughly enjoyed it. She knew the Maheshwar Sutras and all. She crams them up, and it was amazing, really.
Thank you.
She
Thank you,
sent
sir.
hugs to you. God bless you,
Thank
dear.
you so much.
Wonderful teacher. Wonderful teacher.
Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you.
Okay, so perhaps then we can conclude the satsanga if there are no more questions or no more comments. Of course, you can always email Nilachal through me if you like. You can email me and I can forward the email to Nilachal just for privacy. Or Nilachal, if you're comfortable sharing your email, you may. It's private. It's not going to come out in the necessarily. Or just let us know how you would like us to contact you, and we can also add that to the description on YouTube if you like. So then everybody, you can jot down the email if you have any questions, specific questions. Also, perhaps, Nilachal, are you comfortable in saving your presentation as a PDF and send it to me?
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
can
of
share
course.
it to the Sangha. Not the
Yeah,
actual
sure.
slides, but the PDF. So there's a little bit more protection in the material for you. So thank you all. Sir, thank you so much. Would you like, sir, to conclude with some closing
I,
words?
I just already said what I had to say, and so proud of the way Nilachal is growing. I think, when Nilachal came into our Gitananda yoga family through Team 52, I think what really highlighted Nilachal was, I would say something in class, and in the chat box, he would be
Eh.
typing out in Sanskrit.
See?
I think that's how everybody identified Nilachal. That I would say, Yoga Sutra says this, and the verse would be typed out in the chat, and then I would say the Bhagavad Gita says this, and he would do it. So, that's why he caught the attention. And many of you don't know that, he decided to take up a PhD after that and join me for PhD. Initially, he was planning to continue working as an assistant professor in Ranchi and do it from there. And then he realized he would not do justice to his PhD. So he actually left a job as an assistant professor to come all the way to Pondicherry and become a full-time PhD scholar, which touches me deeply in his commitment. He is doing amazing work with patient care. And despite his own PhD work, never says no to any request we make at ISCM. So you say there's a patient, he needs a therapy session, he'll go there. He won't say, oh, I have to go and see my patient for my PhD. No. If you say there's a class, the nursing students are here, they need a class, or Nilachal, can you, get this translated? He will do it. So I think that is the true yogic character. And that yogic character shines through in his teaching today, as we have seen, because that inner guna of the Antaratma is what comes out. So all blessings, Nilachal, always.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Nilachal, thank you so much. We're going to conclude here. As you opened up with the opening invocation, would you like to also conclude the Sangha with the Loka Samasta invocation? Thank you so much.
Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming and joining us. Our next Satsanga will be in July, directly from the ashram. Sir, this is news for you. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Nilachal. Always a pleasure. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.